Hey, how's it going? So a while back, I started like a little storytime series where I told stories of my experiences from playing RuneScape, and it's been kind of a long time now since the last one, which I think was where I talked about how I got my first fire cape. But anyways, I've got another story for you all today, and I want to talk about how I originally got into RuneScape years ago. And everyone who plays RuneScape or has played RuneScape has their own unique story of how they got into the game, or how they found out about it, or who told them about it. Although I feel like the majority of the current old school community started playing pre-EOC, or more specifically like between 2005 and 2012. And personally, I started playing RuneScape in early 2005, so yeah, I've been playing for 12 years, going on 13 years now. My memories about how I started the game is probably a bit skewed because of course it's been so long and I was so young back then. But I do remember like the basic story of how I found out about it and how I started playing. And I don't want to give out my age or too much personal information, but I was very young. I was in elementary school at the time. And you know, in elementary school, we had recess during lunchtime, so we could go out and play on the playgrounds and play games with friends and whatnot. So one day, I was out on the playground with my friend. We'll call him Joseph because that was his name. And Joseph and I were sitting around the playground, and I remember it was pretty empty for some reason. We might have been like the first people out from lunch that day or something, but he started asking me if I have a computer and if I play games on there, and I really don't remember if I played any games or not. I might have like tried playing Neopets or something, but most of my experience on the Windows 99 computer we had probably involved Space Cadet Pinball and Microsoft Paint. And then he told me that he found a computer game last week, and obviously that was RuneScape. And he said it was a lot of fun, and he started telling me about it, how you can kill monsters and get gold and cut down trees and go fishing, and he said I should try it when I get home. I was living with my grandparents at the time, and I got home and I kind of forgot about it for a few hours, but then later in the evening I remembered that Joseph was telling me about that game. So I went on the computer and I couldn't remember the name of the game. So I was typing in random phrases into Google that I thought were similar to what he told me from what I remembered. And I don't even remember what I was trying to type in, like run and cape and escape fast, and I don't even know what I was trying to type in, but I wasn't able to find it. I got so frustrated, I even called my grandpa over to try and figure it out for me. Like, I guess I just assumed he would know about RuneScape or something, but I really don't know, but I wasn't able to find RuneScape that day. So the next day, I found Joseph at school, and he asked me if I liked the game, and I told him I wasn't able to find it because I couldn't remember the name, so he told me again. And I was like, oh yeah, and I wrote it down this time so I wouldn't forget. I got back home from school that day, and of course the first thing I did was go to the RuneScape website and make an account, and I made sure to put I was 13 like he told me to do when I signed up, and just like that, I was designing my character on Tutorial Island. And it was going alright at the start, but then I got to the fishing part, and I could not figure out how to fish. I have the net, and I think I got stuck there for like an hour. I was using the net on the water, and I tried clicking all around the pond, and this must have been before they added the guide arrows on Tutorial Island because I was seriously stuck there. And I called my grandpa over again to try and help me out, and he didn't really seem all that interested, but he did try his best, but he couldn't figure it out either. But I did eventually manage to figure it out because another player came by and started fishing, so I followed them and I eventually found the fishing spot. The rest of Tutorial Island went by smoothly and I ended up in Lumbridge ready to start my journey. And the next day at school, I told Joseph how the game was a lot of fun, and then he told me that you could add people as friends in the game, and I still remember his username to this day. It was JPA7777. It was JPA followed by 7 sevens. But we haven't talked since moving on to middle school, so it's been years, and he probably doesn't remember the story, and probably barely remembers me, to be honest. And I think he stopped playing RuneScape after a couple years, but I've never stopped. I don't think I've gone more than like 2 weeks since then without logging into the game. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is what it is. And since then, RuneScape has been the one consistent thing in my life throughout all the times I've moved. I moved around a lot as a kid. And changing schools, and through every phase and period of my life I've gone through, RuneScape has always been there. And it's so weird, over the years I found like old essays and papers from elementary and middle school where I reference RuneScape, and it gives me a chuckle every time. And every single time I visit family that I haven't seen for a while and I mention RuneScape, I swear every single time they're always like, "You still play that game?" I'm just like, "Yup." I feel like even if someone's never played RuneScape, that like 90% of the people under the age of 30 have still heard of it, or at least know the name, and I just think it's so crazy how well known it is. And actually, just from telling this story, it reminded me of other stories from my very early days of playing RuneScape. So if this video gets positive feedback and people actually enjoy it, then I'll share those stories as well. But that was my story of how I started RuneScape and how I got into it. So now I want to hear from you guys in the comments. I want to hear the story of how you got into RuneScape. How did you find it? Who got you into it? You know, anything like that, I would love to hear. I may not respond to every single comment, but I promise I will read each and every single one because I love reading stories, especially RuneScape stories. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you get some nostalgia going in the comments. But I just want to thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you again tomorrow.